Micron has already sold out every memory chip it can make in 2026, the entire year, locked in under binding contracts. And yet the smartest money on Wall Street still can't agree what this stock is worth. On June 24th, we find out who's wrong. Right now, if you search Micron on YouTube, every single video tells you the same thing. Memory supercycle, the next Nvidia, $1,500 price target, back up the truck. And here's the uncomfortable part. They're not entirely wrong. The demand is real, the contracts are real, the bottleneck is real. But when 16 videos in a row all scream the same buy, that's usually the moment to slow down and ask the question none of them are asking. Because the real trade here isn't whether memory is booming. It obviously is. The real trade is whether what's already happened to this stock is the beginning of something Nvidia-sized or the top of the oldest cycle in semiconductors. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Start with what's actually true, because the bull case isn't built on air. Modern AI doesn't just need Nvidia's logic chips. It needs memory sitting right next to them, feeding data fast enough to keep those chips busy. That high bandwidth memory is the bottleneck of the entire AI build-out. And it's controlled by exactly 3 companies: Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Together, they make well over 90% of it. Of those 3, Micron is the only American name, which in a world where governments now treat AI infrastructure as national security, matters more than it used to. And the headline everyone repeats is the strongest part. Micron's entire 2026 high-bandwidth memory output is already sold out under multi-year contracts, with customers now reaching to lock up 2027. That is not a normal memory company. So far, the bulls are right. Here's where it gets harder. The stock already knows all of that. Micron is up roughly 70% in 2026 and sitting near a 52-week high, around $546. Every video tells you it's still cheap, that the forward price-to-earnings ratio is single digits, a fraction of Nvidia's. And on the surface, that's true. But here's the question that should make you uncomfortable. If it's this obvious and this cheap, why hasn't the market already paid double for it? The answer is the oldest trap in semiconductors. A low forward multiple on peak cyclical earnings isn't cheap. It's the market quietly telling you it doesn't believe those earnings last. The cheapness isn't a gift. It's a warning that has to be disproven. On June 24th, Micron reports, the company's own guidance points to roughly $33.5 billion in revenue for the quarter, with adjusted earnings near $19 a share. Sounds precise. But look at where the analysts land. Their estimates run from about $33.7 billion all the way up to nearly $41 billion. That's a spread of more than $7 billion on a single quarter. Stop and sit with that. The people whose entire job is to model this company can't agree within $7 billion how fast it's growing. That gap is not noise. That gap is the trade. It's the difference between a supercycle that keeps accelerating and a ramp that's about to flatten. And nobody watching those hype videos is pricing in that they genuinely do not know. There's one word that almost never shows up in the bull videos: cyclical. Memory is the single most cyclical business in technology. It booms, it floods, it busts. In 2018, DRAM was sold out and prices were screaming. A year later, the market collapsed. In 2022 into 2023, an oversupply glut was so brutal that Micron posted billion-dollar quarterly losses and slashed production. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. At the top of every one of those cycles, the order books were full and customers were pre-booking too. A sold-out year is not proof the cycle is broken. Historically, a sold-out year is what the peak looks like right before the turn. The bulls are treating the strongest evidence of a top as if it were proof of permanence. So, forget the price target theatre. There are exactly three things that matter on this earnings call. 1. The high bandwidth memory growth rate. Is the ramp still accelerating or quietly flattening? Acceleration means structural. Flattening means cyclical. 2. Gross margins. Micron is guiding to record near historic high margins. The question isn't whether they're high. It's whether margins this extreme have ever held in memory's history. They haven't. So can this time be different? 3. And this is the one almost nobody is watching. 2027 commentary. If customers are locking in 2027 the way they locked 2026, the cyclical argument weakens and the structural story wins. If 2027 is quiet, the bears were right all along. 3 signals, 1 call. Everything else is decoration. Now let me steelman it, because if you only hear the caution, you'll miss the upside. High bandwidth memory genuinely is different from the commodity dram of past cycles. It's custom, it's designed into specific AI systems, and it's sold on multi-year contracts instead of brutal spot pricing. That changes the shape of the cycle. AI capital spending from the hyperscalers is not slowing down in any data we can see. And if Micron's 2027 book is filling the way 2026 did, then this isn't 2018, and the people calling it a bubble will spend the next 2 years being wrong. That outcome is absolutely on the table. The point isn't that the bears win. The point is that nobody yelling by can tell you which world you're in yet. Here's the honest framing the hype channels won't give you. Micron is not a back up the truck, and it's not a short. It's a binary that resolves on a known date. The smart move isn't to guess the print. It's to decide in advance what you do with each answer. If the HBM ramp accelerates and 2027 is filling up, the cyclical discount was wrong, and strength gets rewarded. If the ramp flattens and margins look toppy, that single-digit multiple was the market being right, not the crowd. You don't need to be a hero before June 24th. You need to know what you're listening for when it lands. That clarity is worth more than any price target. So before you join the chorus, sit with this. If Micron is as obviously cheap as every video claims, ask yourself why the institutions who can actually read those contracts aren't paying double for it today. They see the same sold-out year you do. They're still hesitating. Maybe they know something the price targets don't. Tell me in the comments, when Micron reports on June 24th, Supercycle or Cycle Top? I read every reply. And if you want the breakdown the day those numbers hit, subscribe, because we're going to read that earnings call line by line together. This isn't financial advice. It's a way of thinking. Do your own work.